Hello and welcome to True Politics with Oliver Grimes. My name is Oliver Grimes and welcome to the podcast. Today, if you are watching on YouTube, you can see this is the first ever episode that is going to air on YouTube and that actually has video, which is pretty dope because this has been a kind of like a standard podcast just on iTunes and just on Spotify, just audio, no video, but I've been really working hard to kind of put all the pieces in order and figure it out. Got a camera. So yeah, this is video. If you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, this is on YouTube. If you want to go watch it with the whole video and everything, you can just look up True Politics Podcast, whatever the title of this episode is on Spotify or iTunes. You can probably just search that and you'll hopefully find it. But if you're watching on YouTube and you don't want to see my face, you just want to listen to it, just the audio, make sure to go to Spotify or iTunes, search it up on there, and you'll be able to find that and just listen to my, the audio version. So, that being said, this has been a busy week. I know I haven't uploaded in a month. Hard to believe. I've really been slacking. Honestly, it's been hard with school, but realistically, I have to take it on the chip and just say it's my fault. It really is my fault, and I do apologize to anyone who has been waiting for new episodes, but here we are. Last week, I tweeted out some very divisive things, and a lot of people felt very strongly in both directions. Some people on my side of the aisle said they agreed with me. Some people on the opposite disagreed. Both were very vocal, and I kind of just want to run through all the comments on it, or at least some of them. It was really hard to respond to all the comments. I couldn't even see most of them. It didn't Twitter wouldn't notify me, so I couldn't respond to all of them. And eventually I just got tired of it, lost patience, and stopped responding. I didn't know what else to do. But this episode I kind of want to use as a tool to essentially go through, prove my point, because my view on the topic hasn't been changed even through all this discourse. But yeah, so I kind of wanted to go through, talk about it, share my opinion. And if you're watching the video version, I'm going to include all of the screenshots of all of the replies to my tweets and everything. But just keep in mind, I whited out all of the names and profile pictures of everyone involved. I kept mine clear because, it's me. But I didn't want to invade anyone's privacy. I wanted to keep everyone's privacy under, so all these people commenting are totally anonymous. I didn't want to get into it. It's messy. Some people don't want to be put on the internet, even though they tweeted it publicly. I don't know. So, yeah. So this all started on October 7th. I tweeted out this. I said, to be a citizen of the United States, you should be required to speak English fluently. Pretty divisive, I would say. I mean, I don't find it too bad, but after talking to a lot of my friends, they were like, yeah, that's kind of on the fence. So yeah, this got a lot of feedback, a lot of traffic, and after a couple people clowned on me, they called me a clown, they told me to leave. I kind of wanted to make my point a little bit clearer. I said, is it such a big request to ask that citizens of a country should speak the native language of said country? I hold the same standard for any other country as well, meaning that if you wanted to be a citizen of France, I believe you should be required to know French fluently. If you wanted to be a citizen of Mexico, I believe that you should be able to know Spanish fluently, etc., etc., etc. Okay, a lot of people did not like my use of the term native language. I think they thought I was talking about Native Americans being in the United States, but realistically it didn't make sense because, again, I said, is it such a big request to ask that citizens of a country should speak the native language of said country? And realistically, when you look at it, when you get down to the details, English is the native language of the United States. A lot of people thought that I was just negating the entire aspect of Native Americans being here before the Europeans came and colonized. which doesn't make sense because I never said that at all. Somebody said English is neither the official nor national language of the United States, so this opinion is based in xenophobia and likely racism. And there was a response that said, likely racism, you mean definite racism. So I am a racist now for saying this. But again, I never ever said that it was the official language or the national language of the United States. These claims were never made, but people like to jump to their own prerogatives, I guess. Somebody said, hold yourself responsible and learn the actual native languages of the Americas. Those of the Dine, the Pawnee, the Cheyenne. Okay, if I mispronounce some of these, my bad. The Lakota, the Shoshone, Apache, Sioux, Crow, Cherokee, and so on, that the U.S. government systematically tried to erase. Study up, boy. So, again, I'm not forgetting the entire fact that Native Americans were here. Okay, if we want to run down some history for the United States, I think it would be really, really good. So again, the landmass of the United States has been here, I guess, ever since Pangea broke apart. Okay, and then 1492, Christopher Columbus came over under the Spanish flag. He was Italian, but like under the Spanish flag, he discovered what we call the Americas. So he discovered the land where the United States would be, but it wasn't the United States because it just wasn't. It was this landmass. Okay, then skip a couple of years, or actually a lot of years, and then between 1607 and 1733, what happened is the British Empire essentially set up colonies in this landmass that we're still talking about, the Americas. Okay, the first colony was Virginia. That was in 1607. It was called the Virginia Colony, and then the last one was the Georgia Colony in 1733. And again, what you should remember is these colonies were founded by Great Britain. Great Britain's official language, their official language in this time period was English. Granted, it was called Middle English. It kind of had French, influence, so the spelling was a little bit different for different terms. Like color would have a O and a U, R, and like armor would have O-U, R. So it was definitely like a different standard of English, but it was English. It was just called Middle English. I'm trying to be very specific because people really misunderstood what I was saying. And then from there, the colonies essentially won their independence after the Revolutionary War, and the United States of America was now a thing. This landmass was no longer just a landmass. Now it was an official country. Okay? Are you following? I hope you are. This official country now completely composed of people who are English speakers. Remember, they were all English speakers. The Constitution was written in English. The Declaration of Independence was written in English. All of the Founding Fathers were fluent in English. And so I'm not negating the Native Americans. I'm not forgetting about the Native Americans. I'm saying that, of course, there were Native Americans here who spoke tons of different languages, but the actual country called the United States of America was founded on English language. English language was the only language that was unanimous around everything in the United States. Everyone used English. That was the official. It wasn't the actual official on a piece of paper. I shouldn't have said that, but it was the unofficial language of the United States. But again, I never said it was the official. So that being cleared up, let's get into some more tweets. Another person said, this is super easy to say when you were raised speaking English and being a white kid. With practically any exposure to people of cultures / backgrounds, you might keep your stupid mouth shut, but you're too close-minded to look around. Yourself. I really don't know how to respond to that. I mean, of course I'm white. Of course I grew up speaking English, but so did many Americans. Okay? It has nothing to do with being white. You could be white, you could be black, you could be any color, any race, whatever. If you're in the U.S., you should know how to speak English. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with where you come from. It has to do with respect for the country you're in. Okay? Another person said, right, because the whole continent didn't exist before it was colonized. Makes sense. Again, I'm being misinterpreted completely. I still haven't said anything wrong. I think these people are just genuinely confused. I didn't forget that there were people here before it was colonized. What I'm saying is the country itself, the United States of America, was founded on English. The next one says, literally, oh wait, actually I'm going to save that one for the end because this is the best one. The next one says, the native language question mark, are you dumb? It is the native language of the United States of America. Not of the landmass on which we are, but of the United States of America. It is the native, or I guess you could replace it with the term original language that we used. That is a fact. And then one of the other people said English wasn't the original language spoken in the U.S. LMFAO, you said the Native Americans and their many languages, huh? I think this just goes to show with the amount of people responding in the same nature. I think this shows the lack of I wouldn't say reading, because I'm assuming all these people know how to read, the lack of attention to detail that many of these people are showing. They are not paying any attention to detail, in fact. They didn't read my statement properly. They jumped to assumptions, and they completely misinterpreted me, and they misinterpreted everything that I said. Kind of scary. Last one, and this is my favorite, because this actually has some merit. This person said, literally, freedom of speech, you moron. Fair. That is fair. Okay, all of the other tweets, not really fair, because I never what they are claiming that I said never happened. But this, bringing up freedom of speech, is 100% by far, the greatest argument that I've heard in this entire sequence. Okay? Realistically, if you are going to make an argument against my case, it should be under the terms of the First Amendment, because that would give you the most leverage. So I respect this one a lot, even though he called me a foul name. That's okay. But the problem I have with the First Amendment in this situation is you already have to know English partially to be a U.S. citizen. Okay, it says, this is one of the requirements for the civics test. It says one of the most important requirements for becoming a U.S. citizen is that you are able to show U.S. citizenship and immigration services, the USCIS, that you can read, speak, and write basic English. So, I'm not totally saying that it's 100% constitutional. What I'm saying is this would be very interesting to see from a Supreme Court case perspective. Because it is already required to know basic English, I would absolutely love to see the Supreme Court debate this and have a ruling on this to see if this is actually constitutional. Because I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm not sure if it is. I don't know if freedom of speech only refers to content of speech or actually what language that speech is in. I actually do not know. So it would be very interesting. Again, it is already required to know basic English. So is it unconstitutional to change the basic to fluent English? I don't know. That is by far the best argument anyone in this situation has against me. So I wanted to clear this situation up. Those are my views on this situation. I'm putting this on my personal Twitter so people can maybe get different perspective on the entire argument, because I think it is very important, because I think I was genuinely misinterpreted, and there goes my dog. All right, so next on the agenda, I cleared that through and wanted to make that extremely clear. But what we really have next is this issue that happened, I think, 1 or 2 days ago, depending upon when this comes out. Ben Shapiro was actually was trending worldwide on Twitter, and I don't really know why. There was essentially a town hall for most of the Democratic candidates in which they spoke about LGBTQ plus AI, whatever, issues. That was their town hall, okay? So all of these people went, all of the candidates, or at least most of them, they went and they spoke about this, in which some very radical views were pushed. What actually comes into play here is Beto O'Rourke said the following.
Colleges, churches, charities, should they lose their tax-exempt status if they oppose same-sex marriage?
Yes. There can be no reward, no benefit, no tax break for anyone or any institution, any organization in America that denies the full human rights and the full civil rights of every single one of us. And so as president, we're going to make that a priority, and we are going to stop those who are infringing upon the human rights of our fellow Americans.
And because Beto O'Rourke said the following, Ben Shapiro responded with this.
Okay, so in other words, if you're a church, you're not infringing on anybody's rights. You're just saying you can't come here for your marriage. Go to the church down the street. You're a religious school. You're saying, listen, you want to learn about gay rights? Go to the public school down the street. Okay, you want to learn about gay rights? You can just go to that secular atheistic crossroads school in Santa Monica. Like, enjoy yourself. That's your problem. Go enjoy. Fine. You're not infringing on anybody. Your mere existence is an infringement, according to Beto O'Rourke. The institutional existence is an infringement on liberty, according to Beto O'Rourke, and you must be shut down. You want a culture war in this country? You damn well have it, Beto O'Rourke. You want a culture war in this country? We want this country to come apart at the seams. This is how you do it. Because I promise you, if you come to tell me that you're going to indoctrinate my kids in particular policy, and that I can't pull my kid out of the school and send my kid to a school I want to send them to, that I can't go to the church or synagogue that I want to go to, and if you make that national policy, not just California policy where I can move, but national policy, people are not going to stand for that. They're not going to stand for that. And if you send a truant officer to remove my child, I have two choices at that point, right? If I have no place to move because you've now made this national federal policy, I now have two choices. One is to leave the country utterly. Two is to pick up a gun. Those are the only choices that you have left me.
All right, so now that you've seen both of those, Ben Shapiro's response actually went viral because he said that he will meet a truancy officer who's coming to take his kids at the door with a gun. A lot of people are on either side of the political spectrum on this argument. Realistically, what Beto O'Rourke is proposing is completely unconstitutional. It is saying that if you do not agree, if your religion, who has had their ideas for hundreds of years, does not agree with our new PC norms, I'm not saying whether these PC norms are good or bad, but whether your religion, if your religion doesn't agree with our norms, we're going to have to tax you now, which is fundamentally horrible. Fundamentally, is actually unconstitutional because the First Amendment says you can't respect any religion. I forget the terminology, but you can't respect or denounce any very specific ones just because they are that. So realistically, Beto O'Rourke is proposing something extremely unconstitutional. Where this gets very iffy is when Ben Shapiro said he would meet them at the door with a gun. Realistically, there is no better response than the one that Shapiro put down. This is exactly why the Second Amendment was put into place, to protect our Constitution. This is why numerous times I have said that the Second Amendment is by far the most important amendment in the Constitution. That is why I have a monolab flag in the background, because I value the Second Amendment higher than any other amendment. I see that any unconstitutional act by a tyrannical government shall be met with violence and force from the people. Now, Ben Shapiro was accused of calling for mass shootings or something like that. This is not what he was saying. He was saying that if the government turns tyrannical and starts breaking the Constitution at their will, we have to stand up and we have to use our Second Amendment right to fight against that government, which is realistically what the actual amendment was put in place for. It was put in place for this very reason. So people saying that this is radical are actually incorrect. This is what the Founding Fathers fundamentally believed. This is what they would have wanted. And I stand for this 100%. If somebody, and this stands for so many different things. If somebody came, if the federal government said that we are now outlawing guns, I would be one of the first people to say, no, if you come to my door to confiscate my guns, I will meet you with my guns, and I'm not there to hand them over, if you catch my drift. Yes, that is a threat. That is 100% a threat. If they came to my door to confiscate my guns, there would be repercussions to those actions, as I would hope all constitutional loving Americans would also do in this hypothetical situation. This is why I believe that gun confiscations, mandatory buybacks, also stated by Beto O'Rourke, would lead to an eventual civil war. But that's on for another day, because now we're just getting into it. What I wanted to bring this into is just to basically say that, in my opinion, Ben Shapiro is 100% right here. He is not calling for mass shootings, because this legislation hasn't even been put into place. But what he's saying is, if the federal government gives him no other choices, he will have to stand up for his rights, his God-given rights, not government-given rights, but his God-given rights, and protect his family, protect his children, and yeah. So, 2 topics. Ran through the second one pretty quick. Ran through the first one. It wasn't extremely relevant, but I wanted to kind of clear the water for anyone who knows me personally. If you did enjoy this episode, definitely give me some feedback anywhere you see that fit. If you want to drop a comment in the video portion, definitely let me know if I can improve quality at all. Or if you just fundamentally disagree with me, let me know. I love to hear it, and I always want to hear the opposing side. Again, thank you for watching. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, it will be True Politics. Again, if you're listening, you can go look it up on YouTube. And again, if you're watching and you don't want to ever see my face again, and you just want to hear me talk, which I don't know why you would, but you can go to Spotify or iTunes under True Politics. So again, thank you guys, everyone, for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Go bye.